And look at Randy Orton slithering.
Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! KO! Here's the cover.
Hey, what's up everybody? And we're back here today with two games in the alien spaceship looking tank that is the Udes 1516, the tier 10 Swedish Medium. It's been quite some time since I put a video out on this, I think since the initial release of them, of the Swedish Mediums, and it's not for any sake of me not liking the tier 10, I actually quite like the tier 10. I should play it more to be fair, but I've been kind of sitting on this game for a while, and I didn't want to put up a single replay because this first game's kind of boring. Not gonna lie, at least the first part of it. But disclaimer, great way to get people to watch the video. Hey, don't worry, the first video is really exciting. But yeah, this video is basically gonna showcase the two different ways you can kind of play this tank. The first one is on Namahan, which is going to be, like I said, more the traditional Udes, even like the TD kind of play style of kind of sniping from a distance, which isn't the best thing for this always because the accuracy on this gun isn't fantastic, but the camo of this tank does let you to do that fairly well. So yeah, and just kind of the way this matchup rolled out pretty much negated, or there was no point for me to move up. And then the second game is going to be much more in the face, using the armor and gun depression to get right up in people's faces. So that's your kind of stuff. Look forward to the second game. And it's on a map that's not real featured on the channel, which is Pearl River. So not really a map that you see much of. Honestly, having great games on, because it's basically just corridors, especially in medium tanks. But this is our spot. This is where we're going to sit up at. We already have a bunch of people spotting, so in reality, that's why I'm not pushing up any further, and this position really lets me get a good view of the entire map, basically. It's a spot I kind of found. I kind of like it, and you can kind of get some momentum to go downhill if you really need to, and you can see that we're at 500 meters, so we're not going to get spotted by any of these guys, even an M48 Patton. It's just not going to happen at this kind of range, and the only issue is at this range, the gun on the Udes 1516 is a little lackluster in the accuracy department, but that's okay. As we get a nice blind shot into the chief in there, semi-blind shot, he disappeared as we shot, basically. But in reality, yes, it's deemed as camping, I guess, or whatever, but this is just good positioning, in my opinion. I already have teammates that are up front spotting. I don't know what the hell that bad chat is doing. Yeah. Not really the way you want to play that, but what it does do is gets us some easy shots into these guys, as we're just racking up some damage here so far with 5 shots of damage already. And now we're trying to support this, I think it's Type 61 down there with the chieftain pushing in. We put another one into him. Fortunately, he shuts down the Type 61. But like I said, there's really no point in me moving up to spot if there's already people up there spotting. It just kind of negates the purpose of them doing any kind of scouting. So here we're just kind of making use of what they're doing, and looking for a very thin shot on the 4005. If you don't take it, it's not ever going to hit, and I'm okay with taking that shot, because sometimes RNG can reward you, but there it does not. And so far we've made good use of this position. We haven't been really just wasting our time here too much. We've been doing pretty consistent damage so far, with already close to 3k or over 3k damage because of the blind shot. And in reality, right here I wish I had HE loaded, but it would be nice to even actually hit it. That would be better, but just right now just chilling. And there we finally get spotted, I think by maybe the T95 over there, E6, or maybe the Udes, or the Patton. One of the mediums spotted us there. So like I said, we were ready to go down that hill real quick, get out of dodge, and back up. And he's at 300 meters, so he's gonna spot us at that kind of range. My crew's okay in this thing. Okay, it's like 9 perks, which is pretty good in reality. So we should be able to get away with a lot of stuff as the 4005 gets lit up again. No surprise, he's the size of a barn. That's why his nickname is something barn, you know. So yeah, not too surprising there. And we're going up in the spot just a little bit lower, but we're slowly running out of teammates here because they're just pushing into crossfires, which is not what you want to do. Another reason we didn't really want to push up, because if you push into that bowl down low and not behind, and if they have team tanks like that Udes, as we shut down the 4005 for our first kill of the game, where that Udes is, they can just put crossfire right into you quite easily, especially without already in the game. They can very, very easily just flank you and just take you out. And at this point, they're making their push, and this 48 Patton just gets caught out. We put one into him. He's already tracked. I'm backing up a little bit here. I already had my hull turned the other way because I know it's going to get lit, and the 48 Patton gets shut down. So their push is a little weak here, to be fair. They probably shouldn't have done this. They only had 2 tanks, and one was only half health, and the other was basically a one-shot. So we're not really sure of the idea there, but we're able to shut them down and halt that really, really quickly. So, not the most exciting start to the game, but an effective start to the game. So it's kind of exercising some patience there, and I think doing what's the right play. It kept the game even so far, which is always where you want to be, or winning, obviously. Duh. And yeah, so far we racked up quite a bit of damage. We look for the kill shot on the 268, and we do. Pen's a little low on the APCR on this vehicle, but it gets the jobs done most of the time, at least I find. The second game, I'll talk a little bit more about the suspension. I've already talked about this tank in depth fairly in the first, the review game, like what is it worth it video or whatever. If you check that out on the channel, probably have, maybe not, I don't know if you're new here. If you want a real more in-depth review, I guess, of this tank and this entire tank line, because I did the tier 8 and the tier 9 as well. And if you're looking to pick this bad boy up, and what I do love is the 440 alpha on this thing is just so sweet on the medium, especially with better gun handling than say like the 430U, and also combined with the gun depression and the armor. I really enjoy this tank. Is it the most meta tank in the game? No, not at all, but it's a nice little change of pace for tier 10 mediums personally, I think, and I quite like it, as Void 6 Patton gets just utterly shut down there by 50 TP. And now this game's basically in the bag. We're up to 6k damage, probably like 6,500 damage at this point, 66 because of the blind shot, so keep that in mind. Obviously we didn't pick up that much assisted damage for this game, but that's okay. Not always the whole goal. Oh well. And now we start to go back. The light tank is spotted between all those tanks, so obviously he's probably going to die, so why chase him? We already know where the 432 is at, up on that sniper ridge. Do a little grind, practice our skateboarding a little bit, and just go on our merry way. And this is a pretty simple game, really. It wasn't anything too complicated, at least I didn't think so. Not really in-depth tactics, I guess. That's probably the next game, more or less. This one was pretty much just sit, snipe, and rinse and repeat, and use the camo on this thing to do the dirty work. And at this point, I was a little lost on where the 432 was. I didn't remember this. This game's quite old. He's actually behind me, but he's behind a rock. And for some reason, I thought maybe he just went back this way. I don't know. And we're just on a wild goose chase. But he's actually still behind me as I make a thumb gesture in my own room by myself. Because, you know, you all can see that. But I can't help but talk with my hands. And we're still here. And there, sure enough, he gets spotted. And we're back on the hunt. And, yeah. Sometimes you just overthink things. Especially I do. That can definitely happen. Kind of get like 20 steps ahead of somebody, and in reality they're one step ahead, and you just go right back towards them. So little over calculations, I guess, is the word for it. And we're gonna put one shot into him. He's totally focused on the other guys. He's totally outnumbered and surrounded here, so we're just farming away like Allstate. So that's a sponsor, but we're just wrapping this game up with some easy damage. And at this point, rather than just trying to feather shots in, we're gonna slowly and easily try to go down the rocks. This thing can kind of take some fall damage because of the shape of it, so you got to keep that in mind. It's basically a giant square on tracks, so it doesn't like going down hills that are very steep like that very often, because it will just take fall damage by plowing its front end right into the ground. And we finished him off for our third kill and wrapping that game up. Excuse me. For the fairly easy win. Not too high stakes there at the end. That was pretty in the bag. But easy damage farm. Again, we didn't really do any spotting of our own targets, so we did 8100 damage and we got a second class. Chai sniping for the win, I guess. I don't know. But I don't do that very often, but I felt in that situation that was probably the best way to play that map, or that match in particular, especially in that tank. If I had been in the other spawn, I probably would have been more further up towards the enemy, where that Udes 16, the tier 9, was at on their team, and kind of be in that position and be much closer and in the action. But from that spawn, pushing all the way down is probably not the right way, especially solo. So we're gonna jump into the next one, and this one's gonna be much more exciting than that game. So like I said, we're on Pearl River. Not really ideal map for this tank at all, for any medium or light tank, stuff like that, because it's just 3 corridors. And in reality, I don't like this map very much. I don't mind the encounter variant because that's kind of more open, because it uses these fields on our spawn and the other spawn for more wide open fighting. I don't mind it as a where it's kind of a clutch scenario, I guess you could say, where it's like a couple tanks versus a couple tanks, because it can kind of be interesting. But the start of these games are usually a little bland. I find probably not the worst map in the world, but it's definitely not like, oh man, yes, Pearl River, I love that map. So just kind of roll with it and go on with our merry way. We see our G-Swords pushed up pretty far here. We spotted the KPZ and the 121, and they've taken, well, the KPZ has taken the light tank bait, and he's going right on in. He's like, oh, gotta see a light tank. We aim for the weak spot on the turret in the KPZ, miss, and now he's coming right in for some reason. I don't know, maybe he wants to shoot me. We're side scraping pretty well here, making use of our nice rear mounted turret on the Udes 15-16, and with the fairly decent, we do take a shot there, but I'm okay with that, because at this point he's pretty much dead. He's retreating, he's falling back, and we're going to make use of the excellent gun depression here to just poke over and finish him off for our first kill of the game. So now all we really have to deal with is 121, it looks like, and an IS-7. 121 is getting the heck out of dodge right now. We go for the tracking shot and we get it. Keep him in place. Hopefully some of our teammates can start shooting him, which is nice. They do. One guy does. We go for the track shot again. I'm going to put a little too far forward, so he's going to scamper away for the time being, but we're not going to go after him. He already has 2 tanks chasing him. Instead, we're going to go for the IS-7, who for some reason traverses the turret all the way past me, but hey, I'll take it. That doesn't happen every day for me. And we go for the track again, kind of also going for the fuel tanks there, and we actually bounce the chieftain off our gun. For some reason he's shooting me, which is fine. We snap one into him while he's reloading, and this has been quite the brawl so far. We've already picked up 3k damage, 1500 assists, which is very nice. And we've still got quite a ways to go in this game as we put another one into the chieftain, and he's screwed now. He should be, as he continually shoots us, tracks us again, just kind of wheeling this tank around willy-nilly. And now he's dead, and we're switching targets again back over to help this 705A, I believe, with the Valor and T-32. Obviously I'm going to try to focus the Valor first. He's less hit points and he's a tier 10 tank. Pull over RBRT, put one into him. T-32 bounces off the heavy tank next to me, so I'm just going in again, going for the tracking again. Not really in the process of 3 marking this thing. I do have 2 marks and I'm at like 87% in this tank, but not really particularly trying to 3 mark it. But this is a good example gameplay for how quickly you can really rack up some assisted damage, even on maps that aren't really ideal for it, and help you towards those 3 marks if you're chasing that kind of thing. In particular, I'm not at the moment for this tank, but we're slowly getting there. Once I get above maybe 90, 91, 92, something like that, and maybe I'll go for it more seriously. But this game's, again, close. We're winning by 2 tanks. We kind of demolished that entire flank, which that was a pretty fun fight back there. Just kind of going through their red tanks 1 at a time, or 2 at a time, depending. And now we have a light tank set in our base. I've looted HE, which can be questionable. I'm just being a little optimistic here. Here we don't actually spot him yet because the power of Bamboo is almighty, and he doesn't spot us until we come all the way through. RBRT, which is kind of a mistake because it goes right into the tracks. So we don't actually pen the RU with the HE round, and we finish him off with the second one, which is fine because he was only 160 health anyways, but we ram track him and kill him. So pretty effective engagement, even though we didn't pen the HE rounds. They were still effective in their job. They tracked them, so it worked out after all. So being a little optimistic there with the HE rounds in this bad boy. Again, I should talk about the hydraulics in this thing as you spot the Yagru. I thought the game was going to be kind of over quickly after this, but this is where you got to be careful with your being overconfident. Because my team's going to be overconfident very, very much right here. We have an IS-7 and another heavy tank going in very aggressively here, even though they still have a Sheridan and a VK-100P that are kind of in their base. The Sheridan actually played this game pretty well, I think. I think he ends up with like 4k damage or something like that. Which for this map is pretty good on a light tank, so cheers to him, I guess. And here I'm thinking about going in, but I'm like, I don't want to make that same mistake as they did, and they both died. So really not the best idea there. We just take a moment, collect our thoughts, and go, yeah, that's not the right play. Let's go around a little bit. Could have even made a better play here. Could have gone to the right and gone the far way over. That may have been better. But this is still okay. See if we can't maybe spot somebody like the VK-100. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to get proxy spotted. That's fine. But I forgot there's kind of the bushes in the way there, so we're not going to be spotting anybody in their base from that side. But we are seeing their E3, our E3, push in. And we're just kind of biding our time here. Hopefully not getting hit by arty. We should be okay behind this ridge line. But yeah, this game so far has been a lot of track brawling using the gun depression. Again, I love the hydraulics on this tank. Now that's kind of been tweaked a little bit, and at this point I'm pushing in because the E3 is right in the middle of it. We take out the square doing God's work, and we're looking for another shot in the VK-100B, but he is blazingly fast, and he just gets by us, unfortunately, for a reload. So don't get a shot into him, but they're distracted with the E3, so now I can put a couple of shots into this Jaeger while he's distracted by the E3 as well. And you can see he's now dead, so I can get maybe one more shot off here using the hydraulic suspension. Yep, there we go. Sheridan tracks us, and we need to get out of here really quickly, you know. Just, we're not in the best scenario here. We're getting kind of spotted by the Yag. I can't spot them, so kind of want to get into a better scenario for myself as we lose the spot. Now, like I said, before I was interrupted by the gameplay, the suspension on this thing I really do enjoy, especially after it was retweaked. And it was actually added to 2 other tanks recently, the T95E2, which is a tier 8 Prem American medium, which nobody plays really. I have it, but I've never touched it really that much since I got it way back when. And then the STB1, which at first I was kind of excited for that to get added, and I kind of wish it didn't, or maybe it came in a package, the hydraulic suspension, or they tweaked it a little bit on that tank, or gave it better aim time or something. It just feels clunky on the STB1. This tank, it doesn't. I don't know why. Maybe it just suits this tank's playstyle a little bit better. STB1 feels like a more active medium. In terms of its role, it's more upfront a lot of the time, versus this thing is a little more of a secondary medium. I feel like on occasion he says why he's blocked like 1400 damage, but it just doesn't feel the same in the STB one. I don't know if anybody else feels the same. I've seen a couple comments from people. I'd like to hear what you think. But I would generally, it would be cool to see a second package appear for the STB one where you can use it without the hydraulic suspension, personally. But just my opinion. So I like it on this tank, not so much on the STB. What you're gonna do? So at this point, we're trying to flank all the way around just because that's where we thought these guys were at. I'm still pretty sure the VK100 is in this area, but that's definitely the Sheridan capping. I wanted to get around to the flank of the Yegru. For some reason, he pushed into the middle, which is probably not the best play here for himself and his hurtless TD, because he's just going to get called out. He's going to fire once. You can't kill any of those guys in one shot. Or 758 or KV4, so he's going to probably die. The tanks with turrets, so he's not really our biggest threat anymore. Excuse me, and we need to get back to our base as soon as possible here, because a 705A and a KV4 are definitely not getting back in 56 seconds. So we need to book it, get there as quick as possible. We know it's the Sheridan, I mean, almost guaranteed. And at this point, I did recognize that Sheridan's a one-shot, and the VK100's a one-shot, and the VK100's not that big of a deal. So this Sheridan is still a tier 10 vehicle, and even on a one-shot, anything's possible. I know that from firsthand. If you just let a light tank run around like a maniac, anything can happen. And we push up. 23 seconds left in the cap circle, and sure enough, there he is. We aim the shot, and our T92 saves the day for him. But luckily, he only tracks me again. Again, our tracks are the real hero of this story, not myself. I've already absorbed nearly my entire HP and damage. Being a little sloppy here, but just waiting for him to make him. Yeah, there we go. And just finish him off. Just predicting where he was going to be, and sure enough, he goes right into our crosshairs, and we finish him off for our 4th kill of this game. Already to an outstanding result so far, and hopefully we can pick up the 5th kill, which we should. I could have taken probably a slightly quicker way there, but I'm just checking my P's and Q's, I guess, or whatever. And just double checking to make sure that VK100 didn't come down this way, just in case. Maybe he did, who knows, I have no idea, but it's better to be safe than sorry, and we're just going to take the longer way, because I don't think any of our heavies are going to find him before we do. And we're being a little greedy here, obviously, but that's okay. And we also loaded the heat rounds for him, which may seem a little overkill considering it's a tier 8 tank that we're coming up against. But again, the APCR on this thing, the penetration isn't that fantastic. And for a tier 8 heavy, the VK100MP has a good amount of armor, especially if I find him frontally. So we're just going to load the heat rounds that have, I think, 340 pen, 330, something like that. So much better penetration on those heat rounds. So we're just dabbing that A button for the first time in this video, I believe. So minus the other one, we ran out of APCR, and we're just searching. He's got to be around here somewhere, right? There's no way he ran off. I mean, he can't. He's so slow. But looking around, and there we go. There's our nice, and yeah, we fluffed the shot. But the hero of this story returns for another time, and we get the shot eaten by our tracks once again, and we finish him off in the Cupola for our 5th kill, and bring our damage total up over at 7k mark. So a much nicer game there, well, much more exciting game there for sure in the Udes 15-16. 7k damage, 5 kills, shy of 3k assisted as well, for all tracking damage mostly. Sniper medal, and a steel wall, I believe, as well, which is very possible in this tank if you know how to use the armor and the gun depression. It's very possible. This game was more using the tracks and kind of side scraping and turning and twisting the vehicle, which is viable too. But it's still a fun tank. I really got to play this thing a little bit more, because I definitely enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed the alpha damage on this this bad boy and the playstyle. It's quite unique for a tier 10 medium. So hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you'll see more of this tank in the future, and I will catch you next time. See you. Peace.